Good morning, happy Friday, and welcome to Adam versus the Man. That's right, it's Casual Friday here, even though it's Tuesday for the rest of the world, because it is the last day of the show this week. It is Friday for Adam versus the Man. So happy Friday, congratulations. You made it another week of Adam versus the Man, at least, in the can for 2020. We got one more week. We're going to be out for 3 days for Christmas, the next few days, and then we're back on Monday, and we've got a lot of cool stuff planned for the next year, free of 2020, for the next version of Adam versus the Man. Today, very special episode, the cutting edge of good news. That's right. It's not just that I'm wearing my favorite plaid shirt of all time today. Yes, this is the one plaid to rule them all. And if you want to contribute to today's show, I would encourage you, if there's something that you think is important in the cutting edge of good news, let us know. Put it in the comments. We've got Comment Jim Freedom for the first part of the show with us, and then Mercedes Damertowski is going to be covering for him as co-host the second part of the show. And we've got a crazy guest today. Crazy interesting, crazy good. The cutting, how does this fit with the cutting edge of good news theme? Well, Chester Doles, a former KKK member, joins us today for the cutting edge of advancing past racism. So we've got 5 categories today. Aside from that, in our headlines today, the cutting edge of human optimization, tech innovation, exploration, alien life. That's right, we got our alien block coming today, and understanding nature. We will not talk about the virus which shall not be named. If you catch me talking about the virus which shall not be named, and you're the first one, that's how you win membership in the Producers Club today, is if I screw up, or actually we've got 2 ways to win. One, you can catch me mentioning the virus which shall not be named. I promise you it's going to happen at least once today. Or the best story to add to this. Now, there are a couple of obvious good things that we left out as categories here, and I don't know why, just arbitrary, because we wanted to have a special episode about fun stuff. So cryptocurrency, and I hope that's a glaring omission here of all the good news on the cutting edge of money and social organization and positive innovations. I think we talk about crypto enough on this show. I think that's sort of accepted as babies are born, crypto is growing. It's such taken for granted here as good news that I don't think we need to include it in our special episode today. But if you have some, we had our guest booker Marcus Pulis put in the Producers Club the Elon Musk Dogecoin over the weekend. Something he tweeted, one word Doge, and it jumped 20%. And I don't know, that's not really cutting edge of anything other than Elon Musk. And I'm a fan, don't get me wrong, having fun with a little cryptocurrency manipulation. That's cool, but not really what we want to cover today. So again, the cutting edge of human optimization, tech innovation, exploration, alien life, and understanding nature. We got some new species. We've got some exciting nature discoveries coming up later in the show. We got Chester Doles. But let's go to our co-host, Comment Jim Freedom, today for your thoughts on this and his thoughts. And unfortunately, he's only going to be with us the first part of the show today. But Jim, good morning.
How you doing? What's going on? Yeah, unfortunately, I have to leave early today again. I'm trying to scrape together as much scratch as I can before the big Christmas day.
Oh man, it's sad. Well, let's leave it at that. Best of luck to everybody who is working extra hard these next few days in order to make Christmas everything that it can be for their families, especially with all of the challenges facing humanity in the world right now. And that's as far as we're going to get into that. But Jim, what do we have from the comments? We had some firsts, I'm sure. And by the way, it's Casual Friday. We had the bong doesn't match my attire, but it still matches the studio. So
It matches the awesomeness. Don't Be a Status is finally back to being first again. Good morning, fellow Status, he says. Craig says, have a great break. Adam vs. Man crew, always enjoy the show. Happy holidays. Rampant News Speaks got some good news. He says, cutting edge of good news. I got 600 big ones coming to me. Dollar bills, y'all.
Yeah, they're bright. I'll hold back. But yes, once your money has been stolen, yes, getting a little piece of it back. Good news. Good news.
Right. And we got Stephen Lawrence checking in from Facebook. He says, no more shutdowns, no more mandatory masks, no forced vaccines. Join the global movement now. And he says, unmaskthe.lies.world is his,
All right.
he's
Well,
promoing.
I hope it's a good link.
Yeah. Don't worry, Jim. $600 on the way and $2,700 more in debt.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. 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 They took 2,700 from you and gave you 600 of it back. Congratulations.
Oh,
And
so
Chris
many things
Cole's
I want to say
600
about
still going
this
to
that
child
we'll have
support.
to wait until next week.
Yeah, we're gonna. He's bursting at the seams right now. He wants to talk about this so bad, but he knows that C word's gonna come out. That's funny. What's up, CJ?
Morning, gentlemen. Glad we got an early week this week. Hope you guys have a wonderful break. I know we need it. Because we grind and we've been grinding. So enjoy the nice 5-day break. But that last week of 2020, it's who knows what's gonna happen. But hey, real quick with that bill that they passed with that $600, they technically turned this show into a felony. Buried on page like 2,300 of that 5,000 plus page bill was a copyright law that says if you're streaming video over audio and it's copywritten video, like for example, if there's a cool video that's treated with NBC News says Earthlings treated to rare alignment, if we play the video associated with that, it's a felony because they own that video.
What about the fair use clause?
No, they eliminated that through this COVID relief bill.
That the COVID relief bill has the words that's
you
gone?
Want it's on page 2,000, like
No
300
more
and something,
use?
and it deals with copyright, and it basically annihilates fair use.
Does it use the word fair use?
No, it doesn't. But it basically the word in the language is in that 2,000, like page 2,300. And by the way, they got that bill at 7:36 a.m. When you go to Congress.gov and you look at, they look at when the Senate got that bill was at 7:36 in the morning, and they voted on it by the end of the day. And in there, it says that if you stream video over audio, which is essentially this broadcast, we stream audio over video, and we discuss it. That's now a felony. So, I mean, I'm okay with breaking the law in this case because it's now what we've done. What do you call it? Civil disobedience. So, I mean, if anything, they've just turned us like it's kind of like when they say like, okay, this gun's now illegal or bump stocks are illegal, and you've got a bump stock, now you're a criminal if you don't turn it in. That's what that bill did. And so, yeah, you got your $600 coming, but you've lost journalism in the First Amendment for the rest of history.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of those. We're going to get into that when we get back next Monday on everything hidden in that bill. Which,
just for the record, last thing I got before we get to promos and all that, and you guys carry on with the show, if we are felons after today's show and YouTube turns us in for copyright infringement and the government comes kicking in our doors because that's their new way of getting rid of the new digital media challenging the mainstream, it was an honor, gentlemen, and I don't regret a moment of it. So let's finish the year out strong and be felons to the government some more.
Well, CJ, just one thing on timing here. The bill has yet to be signed into law and take effect. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah. No, it'll go to the president's desk, which he's guaranteed to put his signature on. So if you were thinking,
not saying that it won't, but that it doesn't cover today's episode. So let's make sure we certainly enjoy this as much as we can, which is today. What is it a misdemeanor? Or is it considered petty theft of IP? What are we doing?
I don't. Either way, Adam, we're in uncharted waters. I don't know if they're going to create some new special task force that's going to come kick in our doors and they trace and track where your internet's coming from. And next thing you know, we're streaming like this Galactic alignment video. And next thing you know, Jim's door's kicked in, my door's kicked in, and we're all like rated at the same time. It would be great for ratings. But it's if you read the bill, which I'm sure when we get back we can get into once it's signed into law, and there'll be people that break down all 5,000 pages, and we can take some key notes. But if you go through it and just type in the words copyright in a Corona bill, you wouldn't think that it's all over, but it's everywhere. So yeah, crazy day. But I'm looking forward to today's show. Great links. If you're just watching now, stay tuned. AdamVersusTheMan.com. Let's get to promos and let's get Jim out of here.
Take it away, Jim.
CJ said the C word. I wasn't quick enough to give him the video though.
You got.
Yep. Broke his own rule. Let's see. Yeah, let's get to our promos. So the best way to support us, go to our website, AdamVersusTheMan.com. That's where you're going to find a Patreon link right on that page. That'll bring you to Patreon, so you can support us there. $1, $5, $10, or $50 a month. $10 a month is really where it's at. That gets you access into the Producers Club, which is where everything happens backstage and where the link for the backstage show comes every single morning. If you want to participate in the show in any way as much as you can, that's the way to do it. $10 a month gets you access. And then after that, you can visit the store, check out all the cool stuff CJ's got going on. We got Freedom Panties and Freedom Boxers now. So those are fun. People need to rep those. Beanies for where people that are cold, bean bags, flip-flops when it gets warmer again. Good Christmas presents for people, I think, on the website for us. And then after that, what?
I'll wear flip-flops in the cold.
Yeah, unless you're Adam, you wear the flip-flops right now. You know, well, I do.
Although I gotta say, you want to see the dorkiest behind-the-scenes thing for Adam versus the Man ever? You want to know what I'm wearing on my feet right now?
Nice.
And they're gross too. Camouflage fake fur-lined slippers.
Fake fur-lined slippers. Outstanding. Excellent. That'll be Monday's contest. What kind of shoes was Adam wearing on Tuesday? Cigar Federation is where you're going to use promo code Adam10, all caps. You'll get 10% off of any cigars that you wish to enjoy from that site. Awesome site, delicious cigars. If you like ingesting tobacco through the use of cigars, that's the place you should be going. And lastly, go to makethemdebate.com and get Adam suggested into a debate of somebody random that you think of. Make up a debate for Adam, something you think would be interesting, and put it on makethemdebate.com. And this is one of the old ones that they did. So you could basically put Adam in this small box and anybody that you can think of that you think would be good to debate with him in the other box and suggest it. And if other people think that's a good idea and they'd like to see that debate, everybody donates towards it and we make it happen. So check that site out. And as far as comments go, let's see. 1054 says, amazing how quickly government can pass bills and create vaccines in 2020. Nothing to see here, folks. Craig says, Justin Amash, Rand Paul, and Tulsi Gabbard all voted no. A libertarian, a Republican, and a Democrat.
Were they the only three that voted no?
No, I thought, oh no, that was the MORE Act I was thinking of. Justin posted that one. Did you see that one Justin posted on the tweet about, it was for the MORE Act. It was 97% yes from Democrats, 97% no from Republicans, and there was one libertarian that broke the tie. And he said yes to the MORE Act. I thought that was cool. If only that happened more, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Peter Yaples got a thought here for us. What the fuck the streaming anything have to do with the C word? These bills that are written are absolutely fucking ridiculous. 70% of that money is going to foreign countries to begin with. That's true. I saw something about that too. A lot of that money is going to other countries. What the fuck are people going to understand? When the fuck are people going to understand that we get screwed every time, pants on or not? We have to make this change, guys, and we have to be the difference.
Yeah. Well, the idea that every time there's a large omnibus cover major topic or spend a ton of money kind of bill, in order to get it through, there's the horse trading and, well, put this in and put this in, and then my people will vote for it, and then put this in, and then we'll get you this kickback. And there, of course, there's like the thing about the streaming as a felony potentially with copyrighted material, as opposed to being fair use. I'm gonna wait till we get back. I'm gonna look into this before next Monday, but I don't know, and I doubt it's gonna have, and I could be wrong, some sudden huge effect for enforcement, like that people like us are gonna start watching our stream to see if we play this little clip we're about to play from NBC News and say, oh, well, that's a felony, and actually come kick down our doors or proceed with felony charges against us for doing this. And they're certainly not going to enforce it for people who they like. It's only going to be for people like us challenging the mainstream narrative, right? That it's another excuse for that other C word, censorship. But that there's all sorts of crazy shit packed into this bill. That's not news. Like, we covered this yesterday in 2 or 3 sentences, as they called it on Axios, the $900 billion compromise. And I said, well, if I go to mug you and I have an assistant mugging me, and I put a gun to your head and he puts a knife to your ribs, and we get your wallet, and then him and I compromise as we divvy up the money, the compromise isn't the story. The ripoff is the story. The theft is the story. And it's the same thing with this bill. What do you expect? It's not like Congress all of a sudden grew, halos and angel wings, and now they're trustworthy, and now we can believe that they're just going to pass this bill to provide relief to the American people, and they're not going to do anything truly evil with it. No, they will. There will be, of course,
guaranteed.
Yeah. That's not news. And just, I should say, one other thing as a caveat to the rest of today's episode, as we kind of get away from immediate current events. There's nothing in the bad news that we've left out that is so critical that your situational awareness or health and safety depends on it. There's nothing, and it's nice to be able to point that out. Like at this point, like if it was like we hadn't covered the virus for like if we hadn't covered the virus for the last 8 months, and it was like, oh crap, we need to let you know what's going on with this. But there's nothing like that in at least the last 24, 48, even 96 hours of news over the weekend, where you go, and that's kind of nice. At least the shittiness has slowed down. But yes, at some point we will have to pick apart this relief bill and all the nonsense that was baked into it.
Outstanding. Dave, oops, that's not the right one. Dave Von Kleist. Adam, Dave Von Kleist here. Keep up the fight.
I believe it's Von Kleist. He's an activist. I know. Yeah, we go back like over a decade to the early Ron Paul days. I think was when I met Dave.
Well, he's saying what up.
All right. Well, shall we jump into the positive news here then? Oh, we got one more here.
Yeah, real quick. All the feds think they're gangsters until they kick a door in and hear you loading Grandpappy's old semi-30 auto 30-06.
No, they still think they're gangsters. They're just desperate, trigger-happy gangsters at that point. All right. Enough. Let's get to the cutting edge of good news. And before we get into our first block, the headline from NBCnews.com, Great Conjunction, Earthlings treated to rare alignment of Jupiter and Saturn. I love the Earthlings. Yes, we are Earthlings. And one promo we missed, of course, if you go to @theGardenOfFreedom on Instagram, you can see my little night photo experiment with the Christmas star, the Yule star last night. And it's pretty cool with my night exposure. Where, I know as the CJ's like, I got to zoom way in there. But if you do zoom way in, you can see Saturn and Jupiter almost like there's actually like a weird little black space between them. But if you just look from a distance and blur your eyes just a little bit, it's like it was like one bright star. So that was a lot of fun last night, and I hope you check out the rest of the photos we got there on Instagram for the Garden of Freedom. Now, for our first section today, the cutting edge of human optimization, we have really positive news here that we touched on yesterday, sort of out of order in talking about how this plant cannabis that we celebrate every day here with Adam versus the Man, one way or another, Studio Bong, Studio Chillum, and in celebrating this, I guess it's they've I guess good legal news I gotta set aside here and say, look, they made pot so legal that it's not even fun to smoke anymore. And that's it's a little tongue in cheek, but it's true that there was an element of smoking cannabis that was civil disobedience, that was like, yeah, man, I'm sticking it to the man. Well, not anymore. Now you have to just enjoy the cannabis. But you can also enjoy some incredible health benefits, as this civilized.life headline says. Cannabis consumers are more likely to survive heart attacks. So what they did, this was University of Colorado. They looked at hospital records from 1,273,000 patients who had heart-related emergencies, or AMIs, acute myocardial infarctions, from 1994 to 2013. Now, they said of those, 3,854 were cannabis consumers. And I'm like, really? What population could you find in Colorado where there's a million? I guess they were looking at records outside of Colorado, but that it was such a small percent. No, it's got to be way more if you were looking at Colorado records at this point, obviously. Now, they said they can't say why, because they actually were looking to demonize cannabis. That was the original hypothesis of the study, that it was going to lead to that it was going to need to or it was going to lead patients to need more treatment post AMI, higher mortality. And instead, they said that cannabis consumers were actually at a decreased risk of going into shock, less likely to need certain artery surgeries, and even less prone to die as a result of their heart condition. Now, a couple confounding factors in this study: that the cannabis consuming patients tended to be on average 10 years younger than their non-cannabis consuming counterparts. Well, yeah, no surprise there. But also that suggests some other confounding things that might blunt the value of, or the potential value that you would see in these numbers, if it's really cannabis creates a stronger response to a heart attack. I mean, ideally, you'd hope it would lead you to be less likely to have a heart attack because of lowered blood pressure and heightened relaxation and feelings of euphoria, things like that, right? But they said that it could be that because they were younger, that was why they had this association of greater survivability. But there's also the potential that for all of the positive effects that cannabis can have on someone, that it might even have a cardioprotective effect to users, because it increases blood flow and has been proven in other studies to reduce the risk of stroke. So another simple sort of health progress, positive news story: light lamp therapy for SAD works. Yes. So this is from goodnewsnetwork.org. I've been trolling some of their stories for the last few months, looking for stories that I think are sort of cutting edge of good news, as we do the good news on This Day in History on most shows at the end of Adam versus the Man. Yes, and while it certainly includes a lot of good news from a statist perspective, I'm as with this episode in general, happy to plug a more positive perspective overall while we look at the world and try to take in the whole of human progress. So goodnewsnetwork.org has this headline: while it may seem too simple, science shows light lamp therapy for treating SAD during winter can work. And if you don't know that acronym right off the bat, that's okay. SAD, seasonal affective disorder. Aside from exercising and staying outside, the light lamp therapy can be used to treat seasonal affective disorder in people who must remain indoors for work, the C word, or both. Yes, I couldn't avoid it entirely. It's there. It's part of the story. All right. There's nothing wrong with acknowledging one has seasonal affective disorder. It's a simple confusion in the brain arising from changes in seasons and can affect anyone. Boston University claims 10 million Americans get low moods in the winter months when across a large part of the continental U.S. the sun sets at around 5:30 p.m. And by the way, this is just a fun thing about yesterday being the last night being that was it. Like that, there's something really symbolic too about doing this themed show on the day after the longest night of the year, the winter solstice, as we had last night for the Christmas star and a meteor shower to observe here. So this idea of seasonal affective disorder, it is a legitimate, distinct phenomena. But to point out to this bigger thing, nothing wrong with acknowledging one has this. Hey, I've been staying inside a lot. I haven't had a lot of sunlight. I got the blues. I need to get out and do something, or I need to, just have this mental health awareness. This is just one of the most beautiful, positive things that I see in human progress. And I'm here in the garden, and one of the things I love is that every day I got to get up and feed the cats and the dogs and take care of all the critters out here, and that's fun. And I have an outdoor outhouse and shower, and so no matter how cold it gets, I got to get outside. I got to brave the elements, and there's something about that for me that prevents me from even like in like the last couple of weeks that I've been here. Mostly by myself. I'm inside a lot. I'm here in the studio, and this sort of like unfinished interior space that's still kind of a construction zone. That kind of anchors me, and I still feel it. I still feel that, and I got wind. Like this studio is set up to get a lot of natural light, and especially in the winter, I've got this south-facing wall with 3 big windows, 3-foot square windows. 3 feet by 3 feet in a square. Yeah, this is big windows, right? In this little like tiny home kind of sized space. And I feel like that keeps me from getting that beaten down, and like also going out to work out on a regular basis. I don't know if you fun little video I did from the Garden of Freedom Instagram. You see, I don't know, CJ, if you want to pull this up for people watching live, the second post to the most recent on the Gardenia Instagram is me doing lunges outside. You can see I got the cats and the dogs with me there, and it was at sunset. It was getting cold, so I'm working out outside in pants and boots with a hoodie with the hood up and on and gloves, and yeah, it was cold. But doing that kind of stuff and getting out. There you go, CJ. That video. Yeah, and you've got Maryland playing in the mud before that. But I just, whatever it takes to be aware of this, for mental health, especially is, Boston University claims 10 million Americans get low moods in the winter months when across a large part of the continental U.S. So all kinds of slight dysfunctions can occur if someone stays inside all day. Research on office workers bear witness to changes in mood, dietary preferences, vitamin D deficiencies, and more. While even in normal years, winter has people indoors more than they would be in summer. The C word has exacerbated the problem. Yeah, all right. So this is something that's not just hey, every year, here's a friendly mental health reminder, but especially this year, there's that dark cloud that is the fear, the anxiety response to that virus which shall not be named, hanging over everything. And especially right now, and as we want to remind people to look out for each other, especially going into Christmas weekend and in the middle of this winter of winters, be looking out for each other. And one of the things is this seasonal affective disorder is simply a result of not having exposure to sunlight. So the article goes on light lamp therapy, circadian rhythms, the series of biological attunement of the organism to the day-night cycle in its environment are present in every living thing and in nearly every tissue of living things. It's safe to say they are important. When our brain senses the light from the sun is gone, it signals the creation of sorry, I had some weird pop-up there. Oh my gosh, what do I gotta quit here? Quit NordVPN. Thank you. All right. That's like a reverse endorsement. Right. Let's see. Where was I? It signals the creation of melatonin in the pineal gland, of course, at 5 p.m. Few in the modern world are ready for bed. Some people use light lamps to trick their brain into thinking it's still daytime. However, it's not only the detection of falling sunlight that determines melatonin production, it's also the presence of sunlight during the day that helps produce melatonin at night. One needs a strong lamp to replicate the kind of sunlight exposure examined in the study. A therapy lamp must deliver 5,000 to 10,000 lux compared to the 800 to 900 lux provided by an early evening sky, or the 1 to 400 provided from normal indoor lighting. Studies show it's an effective treatment for SAD, as well as the counterfactual that blue light usage after dark through LED screens can create depression in mice. Now, I'm not, I'm not, I don't know if I'm affected by this. Honestly, it does get dark here early. I will say, like, even though I've got, pretty good habits, getting outside, getting exercise, I've got decent light exposure, just that it gets dark earlier. And then I sit here at my desk and I'm looking at my phone screen and I'm looking at my laptop screen, is that, and then I go, well, look at our friend JP Sears. Waking with JP, by the way, if you don't know his YouTube channel, just happy to sneak in a little plug here. One of the guys that I enjoy on YouTube. And I shared yesterday, if you want to see it, I just posted this on Twitter. My apology to Facebook. And if you know JP and his sort of tongue-in-cheek style, my apology to Facebook. What's the opposite of an apology? That's what this is. But it's great sort of tongue-in-cheek, a self-parody. This guy, Awaken with JP, as this guy character when he's doing his sarcastic character, I think would be an enthusiastic endorser of Adam Loves the Man if he was running for anything. But I wonder. So he does a promo at the end of his videos. Now, one of his major sponsors is Blue Blocks, and I'm just hey, just throwing all sorts of random sponsorships into here. I will say this about Blue Blocks, right? They say they have the only proven, they sell glasses with red lenses, and I have a pair somewhere around here that I plan on experimenting with, and they're just red lens glasses that I got off Wish, from some Chinese company for like $3 for the pair of red glasses. Because Blue Blocks, they're like $100+ I'm like, anytime you're charging $100+ for sunglasses, I'm like, there's something wrong with this. And I won't criticize JP for accepting that sponsorship, but even if the technology works, that you can put on sunglasses with a red tint and that filters out blue light. So JP says in some of his promos that he'll wear these that's his evening routine. The sun goes down, he puts on his Blue Blocks to make sure that when he's watching TV or on his phone or in artificial light, he's not getting the blue light effect that as the story says, can create depression in mice. And then there are these lamps, right? And so I want to point these things out, like, try them, see if they work for you. I encourage people to take charge of their own health and to see that of all these things about human optimization, you can see what works for you. Now, by the way, should I do the vitamins thing? Should I sneak this into this show today? Because I've been kind of waiting to do this. I'm looking at the producers club chat. Nobody's saying anything in here, and I know I'm at, like, we're only a few stories into our great episode, but we've got all these fun sidebars. But this is the point: is that you have to see what works for you, for your health. Now, so when I should we do the vitamin thing? Here's the vitamin thing. Yeah, so there, CJ's got the Blue Blocks thing on screen. Okay, so here's the vitamin thing for me, right? Okay, this is how I do vitamins. I have two of these. You see, I'm missing pieces on one of them because I've had these for a while. And when I fill them up, it's like, okay, I've got one with the lid missing in the morning. I'm going to take that one first. And yes, right. JP's looking at me skeptical on this one. I think JP's a fan of vitamins too. But I will say, as much as I'm a fan of JP, I'm never going to be a fan of $100+ sunglasses. So I take these vitamin trays. Now, I refuse to take vitamins more than twice a day, but I'll do a morning handful of vitamins and an evening handful of vitamins. So these that say, 1, 2, 3, 4 per day, morning, noon, evening, bedtime, I don't do it like that. To me, this is morning, night, morning, night. So where this is supposed to be like a week's worth of vitamins, it's actually 2 for me. So when I empty these 2 trays, this is, and then I fill them back up. I've got a month's worth here, and I have a box somewhere here in my studio. JP, stop looking at me like that. So I have a box full of vitamins here in my studio, and I will mention, do I have it out still? One of them is my my multivitamin here. Yeah, so I take, I'm pretty careful about what I take, and so I've got Rainbow Light Men's 1. That's my multivitamin as a daily. But then I take a lot of stuff with it, and I have a whole box of vitamins. A lot of them, like you'll see in there, spirulina is more like food than a supplement or a vitamin. Really, it's got a lot of nutrients in it. But so here's my old Amazon box full of vitamin bottles. So once a month when I empty those trays, I put them out here, and I take my vitamins and go one of these, and you go around and around until my vitamins are full for the month, and then I don't have to think about it. And I take a lot of different. I mean, it's a box full of pills, right? I go, holy shit, that's a lot. But I feel like JP is, it's weird that CJ is doing this. I swear we didn't plan this, because I've always thought JP was like a long lost brother from another mother for me or something like that. But I've always been an admirer of JP and his work. So when I take the other just sort of principle for me with the vitamins here is that like when they say, take this twice a day, I'll usually take it once a day. So I take a lot more vitamins, but in a lower dose, because I still don't want to overload with, this is the most you could take of calcium and magnesium and zinc. And, so I take a joint support formula because I played rugby in college. I'm getting a little old, I have all of the stuff that I want to take, and I don't have to think about it every day. I don't have to I don't have to sit there. I mean, if I didn't have this little pill box organization thing, and I said every day I'm going to, go through, what am I taking of this and this and this and this and this and this and this, and I have to pop each bottle independently or individually, it would take me just a silly amount of time. So I feel like this is a very efficient formula to take advantage of today's technology of vitamin supplements to be able to engineer my nutrition on a daily basis with minimal effort. So there's the vitamin thing. All right, back to the story about, thanks, JP. All right, so back to the story about SAD. If one were to combine the use of a light lamp during the daylight hours with use of blue light filters to remove the sunlight spectrum from devices and computers around the time that the sun would go down in summer, for example, around 8:30 p.m., the positive effect would be stronger. Katie Sharkey at Brown University told Vox the pros and cons of using a light lamp, namely that they truly work for treating SAD, but that one has to be careful about using it at the right moment of the day. If it is used too early, you'll find yourself becoming tired before your normal bedtime, while using it too late can prevent you from falling asleep. Despite this, a therapy lamp is definitely an option, like vitamin D or exercise, for treating SAD. And while Sharkey warns they can cause side effects like headache or interference with other medicines, it's a cheap treatment option that can be discussed with any kind of mental health professional and can cost as little as $50. And it makes me think about just, the corruption of modern medicine and pharmaceuticals and antidepressants. Like, they want to sell you all this crap when it might only be as effective as, going outside and taking in 15 minutes of sunlight a day at the right time, or even the lamp. Like, how many, this is just, I hate to turn this into like bad news for a second here, but just one of the measures of how fucked up the human health industry has been in terms of bias towards pharmaceuticals and treatments that are expensive as opposed to treatments that are effective, keeping you dependent on pharmaceuticals. We've covered this enough, right? But you think of how many people have been prescribed antidepressants that were less effective than, put this artificial light lamp in your bedroom and run it for 2 hours after sunset every evening. And you go, oh my God, how did we miss this? And there's so many other things that we got to think, where are there positive solutions and innovations that simply haven't been pursued the way they should have been because of the distortions in market forces that would promote that would lead us to those more efficient solutions. And man, I know I promised I would make this about good news today, but the distortionary effect that government has on incentives is what has misdirected our attention from things like light lamp therapy, like blue blocks, like more effective use of vitamins, to pharmaceuticals, to surgery, to invasive medical treatment, to things that you see, because we have distorted the market in such a way that we don't value human health and efficiency when we count dollars and cents. And this is, to me, one of the most important things about studying economics is that we get to a more thorough and comprehensive understanding of value, so that we don't ignore the value of health in order to see the value of bottom line in the healthcare industry. Yes, if everybody broke their leg and had to go to the emergency room to get it treated and get a cast, yes, we would make more money with the medical industry, and you wouldn't be able to quantify as easily all the costs of the broken legs, but obviously that it would lead to a reduction in value for humanity, even though you go, oh, there's the bottom line is better because and it's like the broken window fallacy. If you break windows, then you're creating jobs for all the people who have to fix them, and that's good for the economy. And you go, well, really? Why? How is it that destruction is a value creation proposition, and it's only when you distort how you measure value. So anyway, back to the positive news, goodnewsnetwork.org for our next headline. Blind mice with glaucoma see again through simple technique that promotes youthful gene expression. And yeah, while this is sort of an animal story, it's really more about human health. Obviously, when we talk about human optimization, all the ways that we may be very, very soon here on a broad scale manipulating the human genome. So researchers at Harvard Medical have successfully restored vision loss and reversed glaucoma-induced damage in mice. In the mice, the retinal ganglion cells, a principal cell that enables vision, were restored to a youthful state in cases of glaucoma, as well as when the optic nerve, another key component of eyesight, had been damaged. Both were achieved through expressing certain transcription factors, proteins that turn genes on and off. The study sheds light on the mechanisms of aging and identifies new potential therapeutic targets for age-related neuronal diseases such as glaucoma. So they in this story, they liken this to repairing a scratched CD. And it's just the way that they're able to manipulate genes today is really exciting. The implications for this, for what's going to be possible for humanity, are pretty significant. Now, why do I share stories like this in particular, where it's like there's no apparent immediate benefit to you? Like, how do you apply this? Like, I don't have a machine to manipulate my genes in my garage. Like, but there's so many things like this where aside from this, the far-fetched or sort of ultimate development of the human life form, that we're going to be able to upload our consciousness into a machine that lives forever, and that's where this is going. But even in the sort of midterm to that, imagine if 5 years from now we figure out how to stop aging. You're going to really wish you spent the 5 years between now and then taking care of your body rather than saying, YOLO. I've fucked up my body enough in my 38 years on this earth that I'm not really one to talk, except for one who has learned from his mistakes. And in that sense, I don't regret playing rugby. I don't regret, any of the other things. I don't regret. Well, yeah, there's some things I regret, but exposure to toxins, like there's no reason to be careless about that. Not taking care of your body, brushing your teeth and taking your vitamins and sleeping well and eating healthy and working out, things like that. Just positive. And I don't want to be here as like the voice of eat your vegetables, because that's not helpful. That's not sustainable. That's not like internally positively motivated and driven. But if you can harvest that for yourself, that desire to or that healthy, positive attitude that creates routines of just good self-care, that's something I want to encourage. And I'm not here as any great example to say that but hey, here's what I've learned in my experience, and here's what I think I can share that's of value to you. So, but if you do give up, our next story certainly suggests a better way to go. This also from goodnewsnetwork.org. Dutch man invents coffin that turns bodies into mushrooms. Quote, "We are nutrients, not waste." Yeah, not a whole lot to this story other than there's a kind of, they call this the living cocoon, the coffin that gives you a more ecologically conscious option for a generation who may want to leave a positive impact on the planet after they're gone. So that, yeah, not only do we have better ways of living now, we have better ways of dying. And I like this. I think this is what I'm going to do. If I was rewriting my will today, I'd say, bury me in a mushroom coffin. Yeah, one of those coffins that turns your body into a mushroom. There's one of my inspirations in life in general, as a kid especially, was Edward Abbey, the great author, anarchist who wrote The Monkey Wrench Gang and so many other books that had a major positive influence on me. Vox Clementis in Deserto, Voice Crying in the Wilderness. And he said something, I don't know if I'm getting the quote quite right, but if when I die, my body goes to nourish the wings of a vulture or the roots of a redwood, that is eternal life enough for me. And I know this is getting like deeper and more perhaps philosophical and morbid than you would have expected in an episode like this, but to come to an acceptance. This is a bit of a spiritual thing for me, as an understanding of what I am, or what you are as an individual human being. Are you your flesh? Are you your brain? Are you your thoughts? What is it that defines you? And there's a choice that you get to make in that. If I am my body, am I the independent life forms of bacteria crawling around my gut, all the parasites that live on my skin, am I these things? I don't think that would define my identity, but as an individual life form, you could trace your existence as a spiral of energy, perhaps, that has an arc and a decline and a fading back into the background, that eventually the unique spiral of energy that is you will dissipate back into the background of the universe. And there is no such thing as eternal life, and there is sort of no such thing as transitory life, except if you see this spiral of energy as just this unique temporary phenomena, devoid from the background of the rest of the universe from which it comes and to which it returns. I don't think you can do that. So understanding that what we are as a phenomena of consciousness and humanity, as the universe becoming aware of itself, perhaps, that we are this little spiral of energy that at one point in history became conscious and then ceased to be conscious. And in doing so, how do you return to the background of the universe? How do you take your energy and give it back? And I think a coffin that turns bodies into mushrooms, or at least a way to die that isn't just bury me in a box in a plot so that you can come cry at my tombstone. No, screw that. Let me gloriously take this spiral of energy and return it back to the background of the universe. CJ, why don't you put those Edward Abbey quotes up there again for me, please? Oh, screen froze. Let's see, going back now. I want to share this because Edward Abbey. I don't know if did you find the one? All right, anarchism is democracy taken seriously. Edward Abbey. Great quote, because in that sense, democracy is ruled by the people. Anarchy is no rulers. Well, you can't have democracy without anarchy in a sense, right? If you have rule by the people and people have rulers, then you don't have anarchy, so you don't really have democracy. If you define it as directly as that, yes, you cannot have democracy without anarchy. Edward, or democracy is anarchy by definition. He also says that freedom begins between the ears. Beautiful. And the best thing about graduating from the university was that I finally had time to sit on a log and read a good book. Reminds me of Mark Twain, of course. Don't let your schooling get in the way of your education. Okay, couple quick stories now to wrap up our first block of the cutting edge of human optimization before we check in with the comments and get to our guest. Fox News, TikTok users find out what happens when cookie dough from ice cream is baked. The result is better than he expected. Now, we're not going to get too into this because it's just a fun story that was shared in our producers club that I had to include to set up our next story from goodnewsnetwork.org. Positive outlook predicts less memory decline, says new research. Nothing surprising, nothing particularly new here. We may wish some memories could last a lifetime, but many physical and emotional factors can negatively impact our ability to retain information throughout life. A new study published in the journal Psychological Science found that people who feel enthusiastic and cheerful, what psychologists call a positive affect, are less likely to experience memory decline as they age. This result adds to a growing body of research on positive affect's role in healthy aging. If that wasn't enough, if being happy wasn't enough reason in and of itself, yes, there are plenty of scientific benefits, or proof of benefits, that there are all sorts of other positive side effects to being happy. Even if you want to say I prefer to be angry, well, you're going to be angrier in a healthier way longer if you have a positive affect. All right, so now I believe Mercedes is filling in for Comment Jim Freedom as our co-host right now. Do we have Mercedes with us watching comments? Can we get her up on stage here? All right.
Oh, you can see that. Oh, I'm glad you took that out. You can see all the Christmas present wrapping paper in the background. Hi, guys. What's up? I don't know what CJ's doing.
Do we have any comments before we get to our comments?
We do. You missed one. I put it up while you were showing us all your vitamins. No offense, but exercise, diet, and human interaction are key to good mental health, says Craig, which he's not wrong. And I mean, yesterday was Mental Health Monday. It's a cookie. What kind of cookie? What's going on?
I think CJ is just making sure that we're going to be felons today.
I mean, I was already a felon today. And since they want to make me a felon and I live in a legal state, here's my marijuana. You want to take away my freedom of speech, then I'm going to smoke about it. Thanks, guys. I actually have to, this is my peace pipe. I love this one specifically for the fact that I have seen one like this being confiscated by police officers in drug raids. So this is my peace pipe because drugs are peaceful. But don't be a sadist in regards to your corona. Says, I am the Rona. That one was a funny one. Kimberly Woods is here today. She is watching live with us. She does say hi. She did say hi to you and Jim earlier. So I'll go too because I haven't seen anything from her for a while. But yeah, no, it's been just kind of slow. Chris Cole wants to know, do the American people file a lawsuit about being felons today? I would say I would suggest calling your people who are trying to pass this and get on at them at social media. I already tweeted AOC today because she tried to use sex workers to get the stimulus passed, and then said that this stimulus is terrible, but voted for it anyway. So I took back my invitation from her. She doesn't get to play with us anymore.
Yeah, well, I would think about if this two strategies come to mind as a way to fight this. If this comes down the way that CJ suggested, right, as part of this C-word relief package, the $900 billion compromise, the $900 billion C-word, I don't know.
My own money.
So if there's this rider in it, as in something that was amended or sort of built in as the horse trading behind the scenes, that makes it a felony for us to share copyrighted material, not as opposed to what it was before, where I don't think it was even a misdemeanor. It was just considered something that was like an excuse to censor you or to claim to sue you, right? If you were making money from using someone else's content, they could sue you, or as YouTube sped up that process, they can claim monetization on your video if you use theirs.
There you go.
But hey, this makes me think we should probably in every episode some intellectual property snippet that is fair use from multiple owners, and make them fight over the revenue from our videos on YouTube. See what happens then, right?
Oh,
but if
my God.
If it really escalates the way CJ suggests, as straightforward as now you're a felon and they're going to pursue these as felonies, then I think that the two strategies that come to mind is, one, civil disobedience and legal fighting. And whether this is us or someone is going to be set up for this. The first person they really come after with the right case is going to have lawyers coming out their ears going, hey, I want to take your case, I want to fight this, because it's a potentially landmark case if that's how this goes. And then we through that this is stupid that this is the system we live in, that we then have to wait several years for this to play out in the courts decisively, and then maybe we can establish a precedent. So hopefully that's how it goes. But sorry, the other strategy would be some over the top inclusive bill in Congress. And I hate to say this because what's the opposite of progress? Congress. And that bill that would be an internet freedom of speech bill, something sort of across the board. Like, have we gotten to that point?
Oh, you mean like net neutrality and how they took it away from us?
No. I mean, like, well, geez, what would Well, first of all, the removal of all government restrictions on free speech on the internet would be a great step in the right direction. It would not remove the government-created corporatist means of censorship on the internet, though.
I just think that they should have left our internet alone, and the moment that they decided that they wanted to play with it, they declared a war on us. Okay,
yeah, enough of this. This is all we're like dancing around the C word of this relief bill. So we're going to come back to all this crap, shitty news of politics on Monday. Mercedes, do we have any other comments?
Just
positive stuff to share.
Don't be a sadist says CJ needs a cookie.
CJ needs a cookie.
That's positive. I did have something to add on the mushroom coffins though, because I actually went to school with a gal that made an entire canoe out of mushrooms, and it was like her name is Katie Ayers. She made a canoe out of mushrooms, and it was a big thing. And now they're making bricks and coffins out of them.
Yes, we have the bricks. We have the brick story. We will get to that. All right.
But other than that, our guest is here.
So it's not too late. You can win membership in the Producers Club today if you contribute the best good news story in one of our categories. We just did human optimization. After our guests, we're going to go through, even if we have to go fast or go long, we're going to cover tech innovation, exploration. We're going to do our alien life block and understanding nature. We got some new species and fun stories there. So if you want to put one of those stories in the comments, Mercedes will be watching.
I will. And I did have a comment. Kimberly Wood, I believe, is there, asked me for my Twitter. I'll go ahead and put that in the comments and that YouTube thing so that anybody can follow me, because I don't have many followers. I think Twitter is stupid. I've had an account for like 12 years and I've never used it. And with that, I'm going to go.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, one more producer note.
Guest isn't ready yet. Mercedes was wrong. Chester needs to turn on his camera, and I don't know if he knows how to use the private chat. But Chester, if you could just turn on your camera for me, and then when you're ready, give me a thumbs up, and then I'll let Adam know.
Yeah, I just said he was here. I did not say he was ready.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, I misheard.
So just a few minutes for technical stuff. I'll look for your note in the chat when he's ready, and we'll jump into our next story, because this is kind of the bridge between human optimization and tech innovation. From sciencemag.org, artificial intelligence is evolving all by itself. That's right. Exactly as you would expect, right? AI is evolving literally. Researchers have created software that borrows concept from Darwinian evolution, including survival of the fittest, to build AI programs that improve generation after generation without human input. The program replicated decades of AI research in a matter of days, and its designers think that one day it could discover new approaches to AI. And this is, so according to Risto Mikulánen, a computer scientist at the University of Texas, Austin, who was not involved with this work, quote, while most people were taking baby steps, they took a giant leap into the unknown. This is one of those papers that could launch a lot of future research. Building an AI algorithm takes time. Take neural networks, a common type of machine learning used for translating languages and driving cars. These networks loosely mimic the structure of the brain and learn from training data by altering the strength of connections between artificial neurons. Smaller subcircuits of neurons carry out specific tasks, for instance, spotting road signs, and researchers can spend months working out how to connect them so they work together seamlessly. So yeah, this is where we're at with AI, algorithms that build themselves and build on themselves. And eventually, we're going to have these end robots either serving us or built into our brain somehow, as we see computers get closer and closer to our brains through technology, through the neural implant that Elon Musk is working on, through all the different technology that even just functionally gets them closer to our brains. As we covered the story and another innovation, good news tech piece last week, we now have a device that will let you talk with your eyes, because it will use your eyes and can tell what you're looking at on a screen, which word you're looking at, and use that to allow you to type and send messages. So someone who doesn't have use of their body, someone who's completely paralyzed, but their eyes move, will be able to communicate with this technology now. So there's so many ways that this is happening. Then there's a fear, and to me, there's a big existential contradiction. Like, well, if this is the technology that's on the horizon, do I bother preserving my body at all, or do I just wait? Well, yeah, you want to make sure that, one, you're able to be competitive when it comes to getting this technology, because it's not just going to be, hey, everybody gets it right away. Although I will point out, every technology with every new iteration is also distributed faster than the previous one. You look at automobiles versus from when they were invented to today. You look at printing press, books all over the world to where they are today. You look at then dumb phones to smartphones, blink of an eye, relatively speaking, to all these prior tech developments in major leaps in innovation. So our next positive tech story here: a new satellite can peer inside some buildings day or night, but don't worry, the company says it can't see inside your home. Yeah, there are a lot of privacy issues that are raised with this technology, and I think the overall benefit of technology cutting both ways is that we're going to be able to stop the government invasions in our privacy eventually. But now that this is out there, we're going to have some technology to block this. A few months ago, a company called Capella Space launched a satellite capable of taking clear radar images of anywhere in the world with incredible resolution. It can even see inside some buildings, including spotting airplanes inside hangars, though only in the case of lightweight structures, the company clarified, and not dense ones like high rises or residential homes. So yeah, there's still a long ways from being able to just like peer inside your home from a satellite, but to be able to look inside like a tin building and have some kind of well, in this case, it's radar images that allow you to see shapes of airplanes inside hangars. That's we're there now. With terrestrial-based stuff, we have to know that this surveillance is greater. This surveillance technology is more capable than it's ever been. And I remember even from when I was a kid, you could get these, eavesdropping sonar things that would you could point at a window, and if there's someone talking inside, it would pick up the sound and play it for your headphones, or you could record it. But now with this imaging, we have the ability to see inside buildings from outer space. Now, one of the things about technology is that it's a double-edged sword, right? It cuts, in a sense, towards authority and empowering them to blow everything up, and it empowers people to be able to hold them accountable. And unfortunately, right now, that balance is certainly tipped towards authority. But overall, I think the technology really cuts towards empowerment of the people with a longer arc. And while we are getting in this acceleration some scary innovations that in the hands of government could be incredibly destructive, the ability of us to render government obsolete, of we the people to even directly counter these technologies, I think that's going to be more empowering for the long run. All right, our guest is ready. So, ladies and gentlemen, joining us today on Anna versus the Man, a special guest, Chester Doles. And in line with our theme of today's show being about the cutting edge of progress in human development, what Chester Doles represents as getting past racism is a very powerful story that I hope we can all learn from. Now, there has been a recent controversy with him in the news because he was photographed with Senate candidate Loeffler running for re-election in Georgia, in which the whole balance of power in the United States hangs with control of the U.S. Senate resting on these two races. So Chester came up with this photograph where he was disowned by the candidate Loeffler, who said, "Oh, if I had known that he was in the picture, we would have asked him to leave the event even." And it's what's crazy about this is that Chester is very much a former racist, very outspoken, and our friend Derek Grayson, who's a black minister in Georgia, who I know through libertarian activism, I've shared a stage with him a number of times, actually talked about how, or gave a speech in honor of Chester, and said how it's told the story about how he dropped to his knees in a black church, repented and found God, and said he was not for hate anymore. So Chester, thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you for sharing the power of your story and the challenges that you face today. How are you doing this morning?
Doing good. The volume is really low. I'm struggling here to hear you, but I can hear you. But yeah, I'm doing good.
Well, thank you for joining us, Chester. I hope you can hear my questions. It's just you and me for this conversation today. And this, one of the things that strikes me most about your story is something that I've seen with other people in your situation who come to denounce racism, and somehow it's never enough. I want to come back to that, but if you would first, please tell us about how you got led in your personal life to be a KKK member and everything else that you thought that you have walked away from at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I don't deny it. I own it. It's true. I was born into a fifth generation Klan family. We were members of the Confederacy, and our family joined the Klan upon its first resurrection, and I just happened to be a fifth generation. But it was never about hate. It was more looking out for European heritage. But you'll never get past the stigma of the Klan. But and from there, I ended up incarcerated over an assault and battery charge in 1993, and ran into a correction officer who actually ran the state of Maryland's National Alliance. He was the Maryland state coordinator. We became very close friends, and upon my release, he introduced me to Dr. William Pierce, and I ended up becoming the Southeastern Regional Coordinator for the National Alliance.
So what was it? Sorry, go ahead.
No, I mean, I did that for like 10 years. The National Alliance there's no hate in none of their material either, but it's pro-European, and that's the only ethnic group that is discouraged to take pride in their heritage.
So what was it that you changed in yourself then if you have renounced something but you still want to maintain? I don't know, what is it, what was the personal transformation that you've gone through?
Well, when the country, we started hearing things like socialism and the word communism became the norm during political challenges, that was always whispered in the back, in the closet. And that, it came wide open with Bernie Sanders, Kamala Harris, Biden. In the country this was more than a presidential election. This is deciding whether we open 1,000 years of darkness to our children and send them down through communism, or do we hang on to the American way of life and democracy? And I found some great people who were constitutionalists, who were staunch, defenders of America and did not want to see America become a socialist communist nation. And they were across all lines. I met Josie Cruz from Venezuela. She watched a great country like that go from a beautiful democracy into a full-blown communist regime with Chavez. And now she comes here to America and sees the same thing happening, just a different place, a different time, bringing down our monuments, all this left-wing liberal stuff being shoved down our throats. And it's the same thing, just a different place and time. And she has a very moving story. And she's a Latino lady from South America. Derek Grayson became very, very good friend. Derek has come to my defense a couple of times. He's a great guy. We've had a couple motorcycle runs together. He's a great people. And meeting him and meeting people like Josie, Lutricia Hughes. I was at Lutricia's wedding. These people, we had something in common, and race wasn't part of it. And I realized that we had common ground and that we could open so many more doors by working together. And that's why we coined the term for our motto for American Patriots USA is "We the People United."
Now, there's a lot that I want to get into with you there, Chester, about, the Constitution and, the problems with that and where you're going politically. But I want to focus for a second still on this personal transformation. Can you tell us the story about how you ended up on your knees in a Black church repenting?
Yeah, I didn't have that planned not too far ahead of time. Derek, he preaches down at the St. James Church in DeKalb County. I'm from Lumpkin County, Georgia, about an hour north of Derek Grayson's church where he preaches at. None of the churches in my county will allow me in their church, would refuse to invite me in. Same with local GOP meetings. So I traveled down there into DeKalb County, which is a predominantly African American demographics, and in front of an all-Black congregation with Derek there. Josie was there. Cat Fletcher was there. Anybody knows Cat? He's got one of the largest anti-communist organizations. He's also from Venezuela, here in America, operating now. So I got up and I told my story and had no idea if I was going to get out of there alive or not. There was Black Lives Matter signs out in front of this church, but they were overwhelmingly welcomed me in and didn't even blink at forgiveness and accepting the story. I think they think anybody was crazy enough to come in there and being about the only white person in there, except for a couple guys I took with me, my wife, that it had to be sincere. And it was a real eye opener, and just great things happened this whole summer. I worked with Danny Ellison, went to his home. He ran for Congress down in Warner Robins area in South Georgia. He's a Black guy. Matter of fact, about a month ago, I was at his home for dinner, and he told me, he says, "Chester, if you're a white supremacist, you're doing a terrible job." So we had a good laugh about it and a cold beer.
Right on. Okay, so pretty well established.
Working with all these candidates, like I said, they're on the same page as, I lean really heavily now and work with a lot of 3% militia groups. They've done a lot of security for us and for these candidates over the past year. And it's been a real journey. Got seen a few times, especially at Margie Green's event. And then this crashed with Loeffler. It was totally nonsense. It didn't have to be handled that way. They handled that so wrong on so many levels.
that's what I want to get to next here, Chester. And I want to say that, I have obvious disagreements with you politically that I think my audience can see already. We're going to come back to that. Don't worry. But that you have come away from the KKK, that you went away from it, even if you weren't personally, motivated as one of the most vicious, racists out there. You were a leader in the KKK. You've come to renounce the racist element of that. You have not only publicly made the appropriate statements to that effect, but you have proven it in your work and in your associations and having supported people across what was formerly seen to you as a racial divide. And yet, with this recent dust up with Loeffler, you had a picture taken with her at an event, and you would think that in a righteous world, someone like you would be someone that politicians rush to claim, to say that this man is a former KKK leader who has renounced racism, and now he's supporting me, and I am goddamn proud of that. That's what a politician should be saying to someone like you, that having renounced racism, this person is now on my side of this political fight. And yet, even with Kelly, she and maybe this is, in the white hot political heat of Georgia right now, that anything that smells like KKK, even if it has the word former in front of it and a beautiful story like yours behind it, is toxic. And she just has to say, oh no, I never knew, I had nothing to do with it. Why is that? Why? And I see this with, our friend Ryan Ramsey in the Libertarian Party, for example, who I am closer aligned with politically. He faces the same thing as someone who has renounced racism, is still just viewed as, well, oh yeah, he's a former racist. Why are people so skeptical of this?
Well, news reporters, they need a boogeyman. And they need a stereotype. I'm just convenient as a boogeyman to throw it in there as this hater, and all these organizations. But you're exactly right. Kelly Loeffler and Margie Green could have both embraced the opportunity, especially at Green's event. Grayson was there, Josie Crew was there, and they got in the argument with him like 3 different times in a huddle. I mean, almost, it got pretty crazy there for a minute. Before I finally just to end up having a bad incident there, I just had to voluntarily walk away from there, but with an escort. But they could have totally used this as a way to promote unity and say, if Chester can do it, I brought other people out of it. We can accomplish so much more across all lines if we're all on the same page. But the Democrats and the left like to play that race card and then say we're the haters, when they are the ones that it's their way or no way. And there's no negotiating with them. And I guess they're never going to let me live this down ever. But Kelly could have just said, yep, I'm proud to be standing here with Chester. And I spoke to Vernon Jones. Vernon said he's called Kelly personally and told her that same thing himself. Vernon's a friend of mine. He spoke at a couple of our events.
So Chester, there seems to be a discouraging effect out of this, where the message society is sending people who are still actively racists is that no matter what you do to renounce this, you are tattooed with this, you are stuck with it, and we will not let you ever remove this scarlet letter. Do you think that has any significant effect on discouraging people from taking the bold path of ideological transformation that you have?
No matter what they say or keep saying, I'm not stepping backwards. I walk with an extra step in my walk these days. I walk proud, my head high. I think that the outcome of this will be good. Everything that I've been doing for the past year and a half with our organization, American Patriots USA, has all been for the good. Nothing for bad, nothing to hurt no one. But they surely make us fight an uphill battle, that's for sure.
What would you rather see from political leadership in regards to people in your circumstance?
Well, I mean, I have made some inroads with some of these candidates, but most of them run. It's just easier to, cry wolf and point a finger. And even Stacey Abrams bashed Kelly Loeffler and I a couple of days ago. I seen a video. Even she got into the game. Like I said, I don't know where this is going. We're going to stand beside Josie Cruz. She's going to continue to run straight through 2022 down there in the 4th districts across that against that crazy Hank Johnson. So she made a good showing this time. She refuses to concede her race. Derek's not done. Vernon Jones, you heard it here first. He's actually thinking about running for governor. And he's one of the only Democrats that I support. But government's definitely out of control, and I know you're not a big fan of organized government. A limited, localized government is what I support. I think local communities know what's best for their own areas than being told from the state house or from Washington how to run their stuff and what's best for their interests in their communities.
Chester, I would hardly be doing my job as a libertarian if I didn't try to create wedges between statists working together. With this experience with Senator Loeffler, you went to support her and you were rejected because of your past, because of other people's perceptions and political sensitivities, and who knows what other calculus she was doing on that decision to reject you. But what does that tell you about her? What does that tell you about the political establishment? And there's the famous photo of you two together that blew up the internet. What do you learn from this experience?
Well, one perfect example is we had a rally in Dahlonega, Georgia, on September the 19th. September 2019. At that rally, it was to draw awareness about the growing dangers of Antifa in the state of Georgia and across America. 9 months from that rally, Antifa rose up, burned our churches, our businesses, our homes, attacked over 700 police officers. People were murdered, children were shot. Everyone knows the story. Autonomous zones. It was just unbelievable. Doug Collins spoke out against us and called us white supremacists and Nazis, but refused to say a word about the 300 Antifa members that were bussed into Dahlonega. Over 700 police officers, deputy sheriff showed up to contain the situation. And we told Doug Collins then, you underestimate the grassroots patriot movement in the state of Georgia, and it's going to cost you your election. So what I say to Miss Loeffler is, where is Doug at today? He's unemployed. We told him he got less than 20% of the vote, and Doug Collins thought he was a shoo-in to be in the Senate race here. So this is a dangerous race against Warnock and Loeffler, whether whose name's on the Republican ticket. We need to see them in there over Warnock, but I don't think she's going to be able to beat Warnock. Not right now. They're on a warpath. And Purdue, I have 50 Purdue signs and 50 Loeffler signs in my front yard right now for our team to go put out here this weekend. And I guess that's what we'll do. But even with the situation that happened, because she's the good versus the evil.
Well, see,
just her ignorance that she didn't educate herself a little bit.
All right, Chester. Well, this is where I would want to challenge you politically, where it's the good versus evil. I think you have been fooled into seeing good versus evil in the political system as opposed to lesser evils. And even being tricked into voting for a lesser evil is still making you a victim of a certain political fraud. Now, you say you're pro-freedom, but you're also pro-Trump, pro the Constitution. And you don't want to see America go socialist or communist. So I would have to point out to you that by any definition of socialism, this is already a socialist country. When Donald Trump stood up and said, America will never be a socialist country, he was doing so as a candidate openly supporting the status quo of socialism in socialized infrastructure, retirement, regulation, healthcare with Medicare and Medicaid alone, let alone Obamacare, with defense, with public safety, all of these functions, retirement, right? We call it Social Security. It's right there in the name. All of these things that are the status quo of socialism in America. Oh, monetary policy, of course. But then you go, well, let's at least stop us from going communist. Well, look at the 10 planks of the Communist Manifesto. I'm sure you have. We have most of them in effect already in the United States. You'd be hard pressed by Marx's definition to not call this a social or a communist country already. And for the other big, inflammatory term, fascism, Mussolini defined it as the merging of corporations and the state. Certainly, we have that today under coronaphobia, businesses being rebought by or consolidated. We see so much of the interaction between corporations and the state accelerating like never before. We saw the federal government grow for 4 years under President Trump. How can you accept those contradictions and say that the Constitution, which is actually the product of an illegal coup and the justification for a strong central government, how can you say that you're pro-freedom and be supporting Trump and the Constitution and the status quo of socialism and communism that the two-party system gives us in America today?
Well, very good points. Like you said, the good versus the evil, what's best for America. I agree. We need a total new infrastructure. And this grassroots movement is building it. But I believe what the 3% spirit and the patriot movement in America, in the name of the forefathers and the Constitution, is all done with good intentions. I mean, it's you see where they're coming from, the history. You watch the movie Patriot and the language they're speaking in that movie, made in based on 1775, 1776, rings true today. And I guess, Trump trying to hang on to that versus where we see where it's going. Like, look at the cabinet Biden's picked already. It's frightening for people, conservatives. I guess, I'm a conservative plus, that's for sure. I had a very good friend that said that I should probably just vote for every left-wing, pro-liberal, most radical left-wing, just throw gas on the fire, accelerate this whole process, and just start over from the ashes. And it's hard to accept. I mean, I understand it. I get it. It's tough to do for people, though. They want to fight back. They want hope. That's, we're trying to use the ballot box for as long as possible. And it looks like from what's just occurred in our electoral process here in America, that option may not be the option anymore. I'm not going to go in past that, but I mean, the ballot box seems to not be the avenue no more. We tried to do that as long as possible. I like maybe like a 1950s America compared to where we are today and where we might be going. Just to sum it up.
Well, Chester, I think you and I could debate this larger political worldview difference between us for hours. And maybe that'll be another fun podcast, maybe a special edition of Adam versus the Man coming up later. But I think what's worth pointing out here is that even though your answer is still not as libertarian as I would have hoped, it reflects a certain open-mindedness that is really beautiful and should be celebrated. And, I would point out that there's a big difference between the founders and the framers, the ones who said, screw you to the king, we're going to be independent, and the ones who screwed it up by creating the new strong central authority in the United States under the current Constitution that was the illegal coup against the Articles of Confederation set up by the founders. Now, that being said, I would hope more importantly that you can see that there's a reason someone like you is rejected by people who are still full of shit. They might be full of shit of a different flavor than the racist shit that you were full of at one point, but they are still fundamentally full of shit. They are trying to pull one over on people with this version of statism and power and control and authority that is still fundamentally dehumanizing the same way that racism is. And what I would suggest is that there is a kind of awakening process that humanity is going through in an accelerated way of awareness today, in the age of the internet and everything in politics accelerating. And you get from like a very base level of being manipulated, of being a victim psychologically, politically. And the worst is if you're a racist, because a racist is someone who's sense of identity is based on something that can be very easily manipulated politically to take advantage of other people. And then you get to statist and then libertarian, and eventually to this point of, I reject all coercion. I embrace a universal ethical standard based on a intellectual standard of integrity that leads me to reject all of these rackets of politics, whether they're based on racism or classism or parties. Are you part of the red team of American fascism or the blue team of American fascism? And the reason that someone like Senator Loeffler would reject you instead of embrace someone with your story is because her worldview is that of a Republican statist, which is still a form of socialist communist fascism, who doesn't have the intellectual integrity to look at someone like you and say, I want to promote this. This man's story represents human progress away from racism, away from bad, dehumanizing ideas towards a more humane, beautiful worldview. And why she rejects that instead of embraces that is because she doesn't share with what you and I have, at least right now in this regard, of that open-minded ability to question ourselves, to say that I was wrong. And I can say, and in my story, it's militarism. I was never, I was racist in the sense that every troop in the Middle East, all the troops are subjected to a sort of racist propaganda. But for me, the story was overcoming militarism. From saying I used to think it was good to kill for politicians to rejecting that. And that I hope you would consider that someone like yourself has a more fitting home within the freedom movement. And yes, this is going to stir controversy. I'm trying to recruit racists into the Libertarian Party. No, but I am celebrating someone who has rejected racism and that process of human progress that can happen in a single person, and saying, we want to be a part of that, and we want to celebrate that, and we want you on our team.
Thank you. Absolutely.
I know that's a lot. Not exactly an easy interview question, but Chester, any thoughts you have on any of this to wrap things up? The last word is yours, sir.
Correct. I think you'd have made a very interesting president. Hope you ain't gave up maybe some your political inspirations. I'm actually talking with the election office now about maybe a local run for commissioner or something here in the North Georgia. I'm going to stay more community based. Work with the local militia. We can't save the world, but we can look out and try to make things better in our own area. So check out AmericanPatriotsusa.net. Join us.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us today, Chester. I really appreciate it.
All right. Take care.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I hope that was an appropriate part of today's special episode of talking about the cutting edge of everything that we don't normally talk about too much in Adam versus the Man. Let's get Mercedes back up here again to check in our comments before we get through our last couple blocks today. Of course, we still got to finish up our block on tech innovation and then exploration, alien life, and understanding nature. Yes, we will get to all of those today. I'm going to turn off the heat. Mercedes, vamp.
Oh, okay. Yes. Hello. So we do have a lot of good comments. Miss Prepper, we're going to start with you because you are just speaking my soul right now. She says, people still think the Republicans are about small government. Ha, 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 ha. And I agree.
Yeah, so I hope those, so was that point of the interview clear enough?
Yeah, because, and then she adds, which was also a salty moment for us, I think, is they even shut down Jorgensen's speaker outside of the debate and told her that her permit didn't include sound systems. Yeah.
So I mean, again, someone like Chester, who's rejecting racism to get involved in, who was sort of involved in politics as the KKK, now being involved in politics without racism, explicitly anti-racist. Like, let's celebrate. Like, he went from super statist to statist light. You know, like, yes, that's exciting. Let's celebrate that, right?
It's more the fact, and I tell people this because I work with racists a lot in Nebraska, just because that's an ideology that you've seen. It's multi-generational. So when you have that multi-generational, like when he started speaking, I actually started crying. Like I was crying backstage because when he said I was 5th generation KKK, that means that as a kid, he didn't have a choice. That's what he learned. And so as an adult, he unlearned that. And that means he broke his ego and he challenged every single one of his belief systems. And he's talking about it because when you leave the KKK, that's a gang. And gang members don't like it when their people start talking out against them. So, like, as a victim survivor, seeing another victim survivor, it's powerful. And like, coming into this, even myself, I saw a former KKK member. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to have to prepare for this. I don't know what he's going to say. Like, is he still racist, white? Like, what's going to happen? And he pleasantly surprised because that's the kind of growth we need to see.
Yes.
And the fact that he's trying to say, hey, it's wrong. Here I am. Here's the proof. And they're condemning him first. And that's that for me.
Yeah, there was so much more we could dive into with that interview. But thank you for underscoring that point that for someone like that, it's not just that he rejected it for himself. It's not like he was at high school and, saw a flyer for a meeting and showed up for a while and then decided to stop showing up. No,
he was raised that way.
When he stopped showing up, he was bucking a 5-generation tradition in his family that, of course, involved other family members and other people in the community. And it did require a certain kind of courage.
When you choose to be the cycle breaker like he was, you become the black sheep. And then you are aware and it's painful forever. And that's why mental health is so important. Always back to the mental health aspect of everything, because this is part of that. And and Craig just said Chester broke the cycle. And that's something celebrated. Always and always and always. Does he feel bad about what he did? Probably. I mean, he said he did, so whatever. Oh, yeah. So are we going to do our aliens?
Well, before we get to aliens, we got to talk about mushroom bricks. You want to talk about mushroom bricks?
Yeah,
you mentioned it earlier.
I did. I like mushrooms. I'm sorry.
All right, so let's get into this. We're going to wrap up our tech block and then the alien block, and then we'll check back in with the audience here. And I got to refresh my screen again. So, all right, and we're back. All right, our next story, goodnewsnetwork.org. Stanford designers making bricks out of fast-growing mushrooms that are stronger than concrete. And when I first looked at this and I saw the picture, I'm like, it's got a little kind of janky. You would think if they're processing mushrooms into bricks, they would be a little neater. This is sort of deliberately left with the rough side out so that you can see where actual mushrooms are growing out of these bricks. The story starts, while there aren't any species of mushroom large enough to live in. And I read that first half of the sentence, and I was already like, wait a second. Why are we trying to make bricks out of mushrooms? Why don't we try to breed mushrooms to actually be big enough to build houses into? No, but that's not where we're going with this. One Bay Area designer thinks he can make one if he only cranks out enough of his patented mushroom bricks. In fact, he knows he can do it because he's already built a showpiece called Mycotexture, a 6-foot by 6-foot mushroom brick arch from Ganoderma lucidum or reishi mushrooms. Phil Ross doesn't use the mushroom or fruiting body of the reishi. He uses mycelium, the fast-growing fibrous roots that make up the vast majority of fungus life forms. Mycelium grows fast and is incredibly durable, waterproof, non-toxic, fire-resistant, and biodegradable. Ross uses it to build bricks by growing mycelium in bags of delicious to mushrooms sawdust before drying them out and cutting them with extremely heavy-duty steel blades. This works because mushrooms digest cellulose in the sawdust, converting it into chitin, the same fiber that insect exoskeletons are made from. That's really hard stuff. As Discover magazine explains, quote, the bricks have the feel of a composite material with a core of spongy cross-grained pulp that becomes progressively denser towards its outer skin. The skin itself is incredibly hard, shatter resistant, and can handle enormous amounts of compression. One designer / architecture website described these mushroom bricks as stronger than concrete, while another quotes Ross in an interview suggesting that it could replace all manner of plastic, polymer building materials. And now this was mentioned earlier, right? A canoe. So How did that come up? A canoe made out of mushrooms. Indeed, designers have already used mycelium to make cloth hats, seaworthy canoes, and eco-friendly coffins, as we covered earlier in today's show. Ross's next plan, according to the same interview, is to build an entire house for 12 to 20 people out of reishi mycelium. And while I'm a little skeptical as to whether this is going to be the technology that really drives alternative construction in the future, I'm pretty excited about it. To see what comes out of this is pretty cool. All right, now, before we get to alien life, we got to talk about exploration, right? Wall Street Journal has this headline for NASA: it should be Mars or bust. After decades of nostalgia for the Apollo program, it's time for NASA to send astronauts on a radical new adventure worthy of America's pioneering spirit. Now, this is not what I'm calling for, government, NASA, to do more exploration. But what's exciting about this is that, and I didn't want to get too far into the story, but that this is where the human imagination is at in terms of like, where can we go next? Yeah, Mars. Now, it's more likely to happen at this point. It's very exciting to see that we've kind of turned this corner to where the greater innovation in space exploration is coming from private enterprise. But we're not quite where we want to be at. Our next headline from Q13Fox.com, that's Fox Seattle: SpaceX Starship crash lands during highest test flight. This is from Cape Canaveral, Florida, via Associated Press. SpaceX launched its shiny bullet-shaped, straight-out of science fiction Starship several miles into the air from a remote corner of Texas on Wednesday, but the 6.5-minute test flight ended in an explosive fireball at touchdown.
2, 1, 0. We have liftoff. All teams triage alarms.
All right, so what the story explains is a full-scale stainless steel model. You can keep the video up. 160 feet tall and 30 feet in diameter, soared out over the Gulf of Mexico. After about 5 minutes, it flipped sideways as planned and descended in a free fall back to the southeastern tip of Texas near the Mexican border. The Raptor engines reignited for braking and the rocket tilted back upright upon touching down. However, the rocket ship became engulfed in flames and ruptured, parts scattering. Now, our next story, maybe a little more positive news. Virgin Galactic, well, actually, I'm sorry. We have one more, not quite there, news story. Virgin Galactic, this is from TheVerge.com. Virgin Galactic aborts first powered space flight from New Mexico Spaceport. The vehicle's engine cut out early, forcing the space plane to glide home. This morning, Richard Branson's space tourism company, Virgin Galactic, had to abort its first powered test flight of its space plane from the company's home in New Mexico, bringing the vehicle home before it could reach space. During the flight, the space plane's engine cut out too early, and the vehicle's two pilots had to glide back down to the ground early. So obviously, in contrast to a rocket unmanned blowing up, but why am I sharing two stories of not quite there tech news? Well, like I said with snowboarding when I was a kid, if you don't fall a couple times a day, you're not really pushing yourself enough. And this is really exciting to see how this is happening. And one of the things that is certainly worth celebrating, that with private innovation as opposed to government, you're less likely to have a disaster like the Challenger. And if you remember, this is from from my childhood, where the U.S. Space Shuttle Challenger was meant to take off. And because of the cold, the O-rings that were supposed to flex and maintain seals in the rockets did not sufficiently flex, and instead there was a leak and an explosion, and all of the astronauts on board the Challenger blew up on the launch pad. I don't think we're going to see that again. I think maybe something like that. Yes, there will probably be accidents involving loss of human life as we push out further into the cosmos, but more and more, they actually become safer as we go. And as we get away from, unaccountable means of conducting space exploration, like through government, where you don't have the incentive to do your due diligence to check everything that could go wrong. And I there were plenty of, I don't want to like read too much into the Challenger disaster. People are going to say, but Adam, you can't prove government better than or worse than free market because blah. All right, enough about that. I'm just excited to see that now what's on the horizon is not how do we get to the moon, but how do we get to Mars. And this process is accelerating. So buckle up, motherfuckers, right? Now, before we get into our alien block, we have a little bit of a setup story. New theory suggests that we travel to parallel universes when we dream. We have long been fascinated by the concept of dreams and what they may reveal, with many different theories ranging from psychic glimpses into our future to a glimpse at our innermost thought and desires. Scientists are more interested than ever in understanding this phenomenon. Every night, humans have an average of 6 to 10 dreams a few minutes after being awoken. These dreams are usually forgotten. However, what if there's actual meaning to dreams that would make them more lucrative to remember? Have you ever experienced a dream that was so real and lifelike that you felt like you were literally there in the moment? You can feel the breeze on your face, smell the fresh cut grass, or taste the food that touched your lips. These realistic dreams feel like much more than just a creation of our imagination. A new science-based theory might actually reveal this to be true. Modern science, as well as Native American tribes and Mexican nations, believe that we, or at least our brains, visit a parallel universe when we dream. This would explain why humans can dream in color and can sense with all 5 feelings what's happening within the dream. It all starts with the existence of the multiverse. The idea that our universe isn't the only one out there. In fact, it is just one of many. Thank you, Rick and Morty, for popularizing this idea. Within each of these universes is a new reality, one that, while similar to our own, is altered in some way by the decisions that we've made. This is a concept that scientists have entertained and explored for many years. However, a controversial 2010 study revealed evidence that there may actually be other universes in existence. Consider the last major decision you made in your life. Maybe you moved to a new town for your dream job. In a parallel universe, another version of you may exist that chose instead to stay in your hometown and pass on the job. This one change in your narrative then creates a ripple effect, changing every area of your life from that moment on. So, can some of our dreams be glimpses of events taking place in alternate reality, a parallel universe? If our dreams are in fact a glimpse into an alternate life, can we use them to explore these worlds? Are we no longer limited to just our own universe? Much further study is required, but this may be the start of some incredible discoveries in the future. And that is the perfect setup to our next segment about the cutting edge of alien life, as we may be able to explore in our dreams of parallel universes where humans have made contact with aliens, where the radio signals that seem so faint from outer space are much closer than they may appear with today's technology. And that gets us to our segment, The Cutting Edge of Alien Life.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you will, look right here.
We've seen a number of stories in the news lately about aliens. Most recently, the one that we called bullshit on, of the Israeli former defense muckety-muck, whatever his title was now, university professor, saying that aliens had made contact with humans, but only the American and Israeli governments, because we're the chosen people, we're the special ones. And you had to go, I'm happy to cover this story as some high-level former muckety-muck, still respected university professor with a little prank. But now we have John Brennan on UFOs, this from marginalrevolution.com. I thought I would give this segment its own post. Again, here is the blah, 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 blah. The conversation with John Brennan. This is from Tyler Cohen of Current Affairs. And this is with John Brennan, who was head of the CIA for 4 years under President Obama. So here's the quote from Brennan. I've seen some of those videos from Navy pilots, and I must tell you, they are quite eyebrow-raising when you look at them, you try to ensure that you have as much data as possible in terms of visuals and also different types of maybe technical collection of sensors that you have at the time. Also, I believe it's important to reach into other environments and find out, were there any type of weather phenomena at that time that might have in fact created the appearance of the phenomena that you're looking at? Were there some things that were happening on the ground or other types of phenomena that could help explain what seems to be quite a mystery as far as what is there? I think an important thing for analysts to do is not go into this type of challenge either discounting certain types of possibilities or believing in advance that it is likely X, Y, or Z. You really have to approach it with an open mind, but get as much data as possible and get as much expertise as possible brought to bear. So this is, John Brennan raising the possibility that what the Navy, a big part of, ufology has been looking at videos from and testimony from military personnel, especially pilots who have recorded, like strange phenomena, things in the sky. And as the former head of the CIA, you would be, you've got something like the X-Files, right? You've got some department looking into this. And a lot of these things are classified, as CJ is putting on screen right now. There's, do you want to play the audio from this, CJ?
Oh, thing, dude.
The footage shows unidentified objects flying at high speeds through Earth's atmosphere. And what you were hearing earlier on this clip, if you were watching, was Navy pilots just looking at these things, not knowing what they are, being able to identify them. And what they're doing now is declassifying these videos. These videos, one was from 2004, the other from 2015. And there are more than these, of course, a sort of famous videos, but these ones were taken during training flights, leaked to the press in 2017. And so this is, really something that's still developing within how the military and how the government handles these sort of, unexplained phenomena. Of course, as a skeptic, when I hear this stuff coming from the government, I go, well, this is probably all a hoax, right? They just want us to believe, like the Israeli defense, whatever, muckety muck, that, oh yeah, we're the special ones. Do you think about this? You give government the power to see so much of what's going on Earth that the rest of us are not allowed to see or don't get to see, whatever, by circumstance. And they get to then say, well, there's aliens, but they're only talking to us because we're the special ones, we're the cool ones, or we're the only ones that are able to detect it. And I think there's a sort of natural proclivity, therefore, with that set of incentives for people in the military to fabricate UFO sightings. So Cowan asks Brennan, at the end of all that sifting and interpreting, what do you think is the most likely hypothesis? Brennan laughs. I don't know. When people talk about it, is there other life besides what's in the States and the world, the globe? Life is defined in many different ways. I think it's a bit presumptuous and arrogant for us to believe that there's no other form of life anywhere in the entire universe. What that might be is subject to a lot of different views. But I think some of the phenomena we're going to be seeing continues to be unexplained and might, in fact, be some type of phenomenon that is the result of something that we don't yet understand, and that could involve some type of activity that some might say constitutes a different form of life. So to the more serious side of alien hunting, from Forbes.com, alien hunting astronomers investigate a signal from nearby Proxima Centauri. An unusual radio signal has been spotted in radio telescope observations of Proxima Centauri, the nearest star beyond our solar system, originally collected in April of 2019. Let's begin with the important disclaimer here. The scientists analyzing this tantalizing data aren't saying it's aliens, but they also can't say with absolute certainty that it isn't aliens. It has some particular properties that cause it to pass many of our checks, and we cannot yet explain it. Andrew Simeon from the University of California, Berkeley, told Scientific American. Simeon leads the Breakthrough Listen initiative, which recently made the discovery in the old observations. An analysis of the signal, which is labeled Breakthrough Listen Candidate 1, BLC1, will be published in an upcoming paper early next year. Basically, what we know so far is that the signal appears to come from the direction of Proxima Centauri, a nearby red dwarf star that is also tied to Alpha Centauri binary system, some 4 light years away. Proxima Centauri is known to host at least 2 planets that could be Earth-like, at least in size and composition. So, according to the most serious of alien hunters, I'm not saying that it's aliens, but aliens. If I do my hair like this, is it better for the segment? I can do this like aliens. All right. From therap.com, Tucker Carlson talks underwater UFOs. We've never imagined something like that. As he so often does, Tucker Carlson talked about aliens and UFOs again Tuesday night, but this time there's a new wrinkle. These UFOs can fly not just in the air, but also underwater. As Tucker said excitedly, a new report from American intelligence confirms something that's been rumored for a while. Late last year, a U.S. Navy F-18 fighter jet took a very clear photograph on a personal phone of a triangle-shaped, unidentified aerial phenomena. That vehicle, whatever it was, appeared to be operating with a propulsion system that generated no visible exhaust. Hard to see how that can happen. The setting likely places the UFO near a U.S. nuclear-powered aircraft carrier. That shouldn't be surprising because a string of UFO sightings have involved nuclear reactors and warheads. So, but Tucker isn't just here for the regular UFOs. He wanted to talk about the underwater UFOs, which behave in ways that science can't explain. Well, if science can't explain it, I'm not saying it's aliens, but aliens, right? Okay. Now, there's a little more to this, but underwater flying objects as opposed to unidentified flying objects, we could go a lot of different ways with this. So as Rogan, this is Tom Rogan, Tucker's guest for the segment, said, they maneuver in ways that would essentially render a submarine or an aircraft carrier, or any, quite frankly, military warship extremely vulnerable to attack. This is some special stuff, whatever it is. Tucker was awestruck. Well, bullet doesn't travel hundreds of knots an hour underwater for long. I mean, I don't think any human-made object ever has. We've never imagined something like that. Tucker gaped, though the genre of science fiction might disagree with that statement. So Rogan concluded what these things can do in air, underwater, in space, at least in low orbit, are beyond any capability that we can identify with an Earth nation, either in platform, something that a military is showing, or is in development. And as Tucker replied, or has even been conceived of. I mean, let's be honest, this is really, really out of the realm. Yes, and therefore we need to spend more money on the national defense industry because of the aliens that are underwater that we can't explain what they're doing. We need more. So you see, aliens and this idea of alien life can be used to support a whole host of alternative narratives, really whatever you want. Because if you want to say, well, aliens, they're not coming here. I mean, we know they exist. We know that there are aliens. We totally know that they're. I mean, it's a proven scientific fact. But why have they? So we have to ask ourselves, and why have they not made contact with humans yet? Well, one possible answer is they have, but only with government officials from the United States and Israel because they are the chosen people. Or that, they haven't come and communicated with human beings yet because we're too dangerous and warlike and primitive and unworthy of the attention of super intelligent aliens. And so you can see that you can use this to promote any narrative you want. You look at all the Hollywood movies about aliens, they've got why are people trying to say aliens this or aliens that? It's because there's some kind of social manipulation behind it, right? Of course, I'm doing this just for fun. I think a lot more people are doing this because it's a fun, exciting topic, and it's not just a real possibility, but that there's something in the universe just beyond our knowledge is something that we know to be true. These are not unknown unknowns. These are known unknowns, as my favorite statist Donald Rumsfeld would have identified them. There are known knowns, there are known unknowns, and then there are unknown unknowns. And we don't know what we don't know that we don't know if it's an unknown unknown. And so our next headline from NY Mag, New York Mag, senior government officials keep saying that UFOs and aliens are real. And you go, well, why would there be an incentive for government officials to say that aliens are real? Well, because they're only talking to us, of course, because we're special and government is good and righteous. And that's what we're going to use the alien narrative to support. So Are we truly alone in the universe? The story starts. You and I might not know the answer to that question, but a handful of people at the highest echelons of government have started to publicly talk about how seriously they take aliens. Former Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid has been particularly vocal about this. The federal government all these years has covered up important information about UFOs, put brake pads on everything, stopped it, Reid said in The Phenomenon, in a documentary that came out in October. I think it's very, very bad for our country. Yes, you can use it to call out lack of government transparency from within a non-transparent government, even if you're Harry motherfucking Reid, one of the most criminal leaders in our political system. Right. Also this month, as I alluded to earlier, as we covered in a prior episode, Haim Eshed, who used to helm Israel's defense ministry, the defense ministry head, whatever, came forth with even more jaw-dropping claims. He told Yediat Aharonot, an Israeli newspaper, that humans have made contact with aliens and even formed a galactic federation. As he said, there's an agreement between the U.S. government and the aliens. They signed a contract with us to do experiments here. Yeah, talk about baiting crazy people. He also claimed that there's an underground base in the depth of Mars that hosts both astronauts and extraterrestrial representatives to the aforementioned Galactic Federation. So this also mentions claims from Brennan, that is John Brennan, as we covered earlier. Now, further on in the story, NASA is having none of this, though. In a statement given to NBC News in response to Eshed's bombshell assertions, a spokesperson for the space agency said, although we have yet to find signs of extraterrestrial life, NASA is exploring the solar system and beyond to help us answer fundamental questions, including whether we are alone in the universe. Make of that what you will. Now, no signs of extraterrestrial life? This is going to set off all the conspiracy theorists, right? No, oh, well, we've got signs. You told us about the radio signals yourself. Otherwise, why are we giving you all these millions of dollars for your space exploration? Oh. As long as the mythology of aliens is an ever-present possibility, then denying NASA millions and millions of dollars to put up satellites to listen to alien radio signals. You see the connection there, right? Yeah. Make of that what you will. Naturally, Donald Trump is part of Eshed's story. Trump was, according to the Israeli quote, on the verge of revealing the existence of aliens to the general public, but was stopped by the Galactic Federation in order to prevent mass hysteria. If so, we can only hope that one of Trump's last acts as president, maybe after preemptively pardoning Ivanka's pet hamster, would be to reveal the truth. I'm ready for it. Are you? All right, now we go back to normal. And I am no longer ready for the truth of aliens, but ready for the truth of immediately present reality. We get back to nature and end this block on aliens with another great video clip to play us out. CJ.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you will, look right here.
I got to make sure my hair is fully back away from George Stupolo style, back to normal, dorky Adam versus the man. Let's get Mercedes up on here to help wrap up the show today. Check in with the audience. See if we have any other any exciting insights. Did you like that? Was that a good coverage of where we are with aliens today? I'm not saying aliens.
For me, it was great because that's how I feel. Like, am I crazy? What dimension am I in? There's just tiny black holes everywhere. So there are a couple. Oh, hi, Rooster. There are a couple comments I wanted to get back to. Did you want to do alien comments first or political comments first?
Well, I don't think we're doing political comments today. Just aliens. Listen, and by the way, we have one last block of understanding nature and it's going to be a really fast one to wrap things up because we are over time. Good news, we don't need to do good date news on this day in history, but we're going to rush through these exciting nature stories as soon as we finish up with these comments.
Status has a really good comment about mushrooms. Fun fact, the largest living organism is a homie mushroom, Matt in Oregon. It covers 2,385 acres. He also
So how could we not build a house in that?
Right? And he also added when we were doing the SpaceX videos that we had a felony on screen now. But fun fact, if you know how to create bibliographies, then you won't get copyright infringement because you're citing your sources. And then Status also said, we know it might not be aliens.
Well, hold on, I want to comment on that real quick, Mercedes, before we move on, because
I was hoping to just breeze through that one.
No, well, this idea of fair use is like I'm showing someone else's content in order to comment on it or analyze it. I'm not just rebroadcasting and benefiting from their work, right? So, that's the concept of, or at least one of the concepts around fair use.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, no, to the point of having a bibliography, it's like if you put someone else's work in without credit, this is why you're always supposed to say courtesy of, and I know this is a kind of silly misunderstanding that I had, but before I had the TV show even, I thought courtesy of meant with the permission of. It just means we got it from so-and-so, and they didn't stop us because they couldn't, right? But courtesy of, and that's kind of the bibliography point of the comment there, is that if you cite all of your sources, if you have at the end of your video or in your description, you have all the everything, and you're giving credit and you're declaring proper, appropriate, fair use. There's nothing sneaky or even messy or just sloppy about it. That you're doing it appropriately. I agree, but that's not enough. YouTube's content recognition software will still fucking ping you and then give someone else the revenue, and you have to appeal, and maybe you'll have a chance at them respecting your bibliography. But no, that's not enough. That's enough by my standards, but that's not enough to get done what we want in reality.
Just set it all on fire then.
Okay.
Also, Don't Be a Status said, we know it might not be aliens, but we know it could be aliens, but it's unknown if it is aliens. Donald Trump. Also, he commented on your alien look, saying you kind of look like a drunken Teletubby. Status is on one today, which is fun for me because I love how empty it is.
You mean my George Tsoukalos impersonation made me more look like a drunk Teletubby? Is that?
Yeah, and I actually missed one of his comments because Don't Be a Status is our #1 commenter right now. So he says, why is it always old crazy guys involved with intelligence agencies coming out about UFOs? That's going to be the cover of this clip for your alien segment. I just decided. So yeah.
Well, I gotta brush myself back to sanity now.
At least you're not using the Donald Trump brush.
Oh, I got to use the Donald Trump brush. Thank you for reminding me.
Why did I say it?
Yeah.
It's for
good news. This is now like an historical illusion because he's almost not president anymore.
Yeah, there he is. Oh, also, his hair just keeps getting bigger. Not yours, him. Yes. I've seen him recently on Ancient Aliens or whatever, and he's just...
Wait, recently on Ancient Aliens? Are they doing more episodes?
I watch Netflix.
Oh, so you're watching...
So I'm behind. So recently for me is like 5 years for everybody else.
Oh, okay. So old Ancient Aliens. Is there... but are they still... How many seasons did they run? Are they still doing Ancient Aliens?
I don't know. CJ, do you know? Did you Google it? Can you Google it, producer CJ? Because I don't want to use my phone. I just want to sit here and look at this eye booger.
It's a good thing I didn't put anything in eye boogers. All right. It's a good thing I didn't put any crap in my hair today, so I didn't plan that, the Tsoukalos impersonation. But
it's okay.
I think
It's like Tuesday, Friday, Tuesday.
Yeah.
Ancient
so it's Friday on Tuesday.
Yeah, which is fine. It's great.
So CJ's pulling up the Wikipedia for Ancient Aliens to get us an answer to our irrelevant pop culture questions.
16 seasons, 188 episodes.
Whoa.
Yeah. That's a good number if you're into numerical sequencing and that crazy side of all of this too for astronomical.
I wonder if they stopped because they ran out of like credible sources, or if they were just like pushing it
Season 15 premiered on January 24th, 2020. Due to COVID-19, the season ended after only 12 episodes, which also is numerically interesting if you're into that kind of thing.
No, I'm not, but go ahead.
Oh, no, I have to get out books and my tarot cards. I don't know where my tarot cards are. Oh, there they are. I found them. No, yeah, if I'm going to go crazy like this, it's a whole nother podcast. We don't have time. We don't have time for this, Adam.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's deep. Like space, like intergalactic.
All right. Any more comments to show respect and love for our audience before we wrap this up with our skim through the cutting edge of nature discovery? What are we calling the segment? The cutting edge of understanding nature.
Yeah, whatever you say. Okay, goodbye.
All right. Thank you, Mercedes, and everybody who commented on our show today, especially our existing producer club member, Mr. Status. So I guess we don't have any membership to give away, but let's wrap the show up with some more positive news. New whale species discovered in Mexico, according to CNN.com. Yeah, just when you thought we had nature all mapped out, even for just the big animals, right? Nope. Scientists working off the western coast of Mexico say they have found a previously unknown species of whale. 3 beaked whales were spotted last month by a team of scientists working with the Sea Shepherd Conservation Society near the San Benito Island, some 300 miles from the U.S. border, according to a press release published Tuesday. The team had set out to try to find what kind of whales were making an unidentified acoustic signal previously recorded in the area. So, yeah, very exciting to see this. Let's see, what's the name for this thing? Does it say here? They say they are highly confident the animals are a new whale species. According to the press release, genetic sampling will be, I guess they have to confirm with genetic sampling whether they are correct. But yeah, it's just to think that. So here's this quote from someone on the project, I think Jay Barlow, quote, "It just sends chills up and down my spine when I think that we might have accomplished what most people would say was truly impossible, finding a large mammal that exists on this earth that is totally unknown to science." Yes. Now, maybe not in good news as much as just exciting to understand of what we can see in the world. Reuters, we were going to cover this headline a couple of weeks ago when it happened. This was December 9th. Giant iceberg on course to collide with the South Atlantic Penguin Colony Island. An enormous iceberg is heading towards South Georgia Island in the southern Atlantic, where scientists say a collision could devastate wildlife by threatening the food chain. Scientists have long been watching this climate-related event unfold as the iceberg, about the same size as the island itself, has meandered and advanced over 2 years since breaking off from the Antarctic Peninsula in July 2017. Pretty amazing that we can observe stuff like this at all. Now, back to goodnewsnetwork.org. The Steve Irwin of mushrooms, Paul Stamets, works to save rare ancient fungus to protect us from pandemics. And the article starts, "There's some people born to this earth in whom a particular purpose or pursuit is embodied in such a complete way as to make them seem its avatar. Paul Stamets is such a man, the crocodile hunter, but for mushrooms, a world-leading mycologist who eats, grows, lives, breathes, sells, and even wears fungi. Now the famous mushroom scientist wants to create a research station on a remote island to protect old-growth forests containing a rare type of ancient fungus, which he believes could protect people against COVID-19 or even future pandemics. The coronavirus is a natural fit, as Paul Stamets, an expert in the medicinal use and history of fungi, explains, because for thousands of years, fungus was used to treat respiratory infections." Ha! You missed it, CJ! I told you! I was going to mention it at some point in the show. That was it. Yeah, why? Corona is uncontainable. Even on Adam versus the Man, it creeps into our good news episode. It is everywhere and everything. But I hope you also noticed that mushrooms are a bit of a theme here, from mushroom coffins to mushroom bricks to mushroom clothing to mushroom drugs to mushroom fabrics to all the amazing things that we see happening with mushrooms today. It is, and by the way, along with all of this stuff, we're about to wrap the show up. I know we're long for the day, just a couple more minutes. All the links will be in the description wherever you're listening to or watching this podcast. So I encourage you, whatever is more interesting or most interesting to you, dive into it deeper, especially the mushroom thing. There's a lot of practical applications on the cutting edge of science, technology, and just new applications in innovative ways around mushrooms. And obviously, we're going to be exploring some of those more ourselves here in Gardenia. What do we have? Producers Club. Weird, sort of not quite positive news from New York Post. France, China developing biologically engineered super soldiers. Yeah, no, I think we'll come back to that next week. All right, back to the positive science news. In Understanding Nature, The Atlantic has this headline: spiders can fly hundreds of miles using electricity. This is a phenomena that has been understood for years. And this article is actually 2 years old. Scientists are finally starting to understand the centuries-old mystery of ballooning. And what was just starting to be understood then was how it is actually the electrodes, or the ability of scientists to, or the ability of spiders to use electricity. And what was thought was that it was ballooning, that this practice of spiders to fly works because the silk catches on the wind, dragging the spider with it. But that doesn't entirely make sense according to the story, especially since spiders only balloon during light winds. They don't shoot silk from their abdomens, and it seems unlikely that such gentle breezes could be strong enough to yank the threads out, let alone carry the largest species aloft. So what they're doing, what they figured out was that they have a sense of the electric field and are using that to launch themselves into the air, which may have implications for human flight eventually as well. Now, another exciting, totally unrelated Understanding Nature headline from newatlas.com: farmer fish become first animal found domesticating another species. That's right. Humans have been long thought as the only species of animal that domesticates others, but not actually true. And here we find a rather strange example where a fish that they said, the damselfish, which are known to farm algae for food, it appears that they also use mysid shrimp species as fertilizer to help their crops grow. In return, the shrimp are given a safe haven to live. The fish will chase off any shrimp-craving predators that swim too close. The scientists confirmed the idea through a series of field and lab tests. Yeah, and now, of course, I couldn't cover this story without the editorial note of, isn't it amazing that we have this technological ability and the time and luxury to observe all these things, if only it wasn't by government grants that misdirect attention away from solving the problems caused by government. But beautiful that we're able to observe this, of course. Now, Good News Network also has this headline: gone for a century, a plant finally shows itself when conservation work on Ghost Pond stirs up hidden seed. A rare plant rose from the dead and was found recently in Norfolk Ghost Pond, becoming the first one spotted in a century. Just a cool natural phenomena to know that this is possible. The plant, known as grass polly and sporting pinkish white petals, was found growing on an old farmland pond in the English countryside in Norfolk. When Professor Carl Sayer found it, he took a picture and sent it to his friend, a local botanist called Dr. Joe Parmenter, who confirmed its rarity. Just another fun phenomenon of nature to think that there may be seeds hundreds of years old just waiting to be overturned and come back to life on this earth. It's like Jurassic Park for plants, except not nearly as scary. It's working. From bobcats to bears, Utah's first wildlife bridge is a hit, and there's video to prove it. This also from goodnewsnetwork.org. A video posted on Facebook in mid-November shows the outstanding success of the I-80 wildlife overpass in Utah, where you can watch elk, moose, small mammals, black bears, coyotes, and even what appears to be a porcupine safely cross a dangerous stretch of road. And yes, it is pretty much what it sounds like. Similar story also from goodnewsnetwork.org about shepherding nature. After intense flooding, giraffes are being brought to safety in custom rafts built by community. The pictures alone make this just a hilarious enough story to make it worthwhile to cover. I hope you'll go check this out, along with links to the rest of our articles that piqued your interest today. That's it for the Cutting Edge of Good News special edition of Adam versus the Man. Don't forget to support the show. Go to adamversustheman.com. Find us on Patreon. Find the store. Buy some merch. Fun stuff. Not like nothing as fun as the Donald Trump toilet brush turned hairbrush, though. But you can also get Patreon. Find Patreon at adamversustheman.com. $10 a month gets you Producer Club membership. I've had a lot of fun building these stories, and I hope you guys recognize some of these stories are ones that were sent to us from the Producers Club that have just been sitting. I've been holding for this special episode for a few weeks, if not months now, with some of these. So thank you to the Producers Club for contributing to today's episode. Don't forget to also get your cigars at cigarfederation.com, where promo code ADAM10, ADAM10, gets you 10% off your order. And then find us on Instagram at the Garden of Freedom to see what we have going on here, including the pictures from last night, or actually just the best one. One fun picture of the conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter. Yeah, last night. Cool photo, cool videos, all sorts of fun stuff there. And the only video on the internet, I believe, of a cat catching and eating a scorpion alive. Yep. From the Cutting Edge, this is Adam versus the Man. Mwah, peace and love, y'all. Choose happiness and be excellent.